The plot kicks off with a meteorite crashing down on a small town on Earth, creating a rift in reality. This event causes two different versions of people to coexist in the same dimension, leading to a chaotic struggle for survival as individuals are forced to confront their own alternate selves. The story centers around David, who visits his girlfriend Jill at her college just before her fencing match. Before the match begins, David wishes her good luck. However, after Jill loses the match, she is visibly disappointed and upset. Later, David goes to meet her to offer comfort, but due to a strange twist of fate, he mistakes Jill for someone else. Both girls are dressed in similar outfits, and David inadvertently approaches the opponent who won the match. In a surprising turn of events, this girl kisses David, further complicating the situation. When Jill witnesses this, she is hurt and furious, mistakenly believing that David has betrayed her. Overcome with anger, Jill storms off, leaving David to try and figure out the bizarre situation he has found himself in. It was evening when David's best friend Teddy came to visit him. Teddy had heard about what happened at the college earlier and knew something was wrong. He told David that he should go to a party that night because Jill would be there too. This would be a good chance for David to apologize to her. After thinking it over, David agreed, and the two of them prepared to head to the party. Meanwhile, high above Earth, a large meteoroid was hurtling toward the planet. It crashed into the town, unleashing strange energy that caused the nearby lights to flicker and pulse unpredictably. David and Teddy soon arrived at the party, which was being hosted by their friend Angad at his house. Outside, a drug dealer named Kyle, who hadn't been invited, was sitting angrily by himself. Inside the house, David and Teddy ran into their third friend, Allison. As they talked, David spotted Jill arriving at the party, but she wasn't alone. She was with another guy. Feeling unsettled, David rushed to find her, but the party was packed, with people everywhere and loud music blaring. He couldn't locate her. Meanwhile, Teddy was busy flirting with a girl named Melanie. She invited him upstairs to talk in private, and after a moment, Teddy followed her upstairs. The two of them soon became intimate in the quiet of the room. David finally spotted Jill standing alone in a corner of the crowded party. He quickly walked over to her and asked if they could talk privately. Jill agreed, and they went to a quieter area together. David, feeling desperate to make things right, apologized to her, explaining that he had been confused earlier. He told her that the girl he had kissed was wearing the same clothes as Jill, and that was why he made the mistake. But Jill wasn't just upset about the kiss. She told David that it wasn't about that moment alone. She had been feeling frustrated for a while. She explained that David had started to bore her because he seemed content to stay in the same small town and not move forward in life. Meanwhile, she wanted to leave and explore more. She had already made up her mind, and from now on, she wouldn't talk to him anymore. In fact, she was now starting to date the other guy she came to the party with. David, devastated, left the party feeling heartbroken. His girlfriend, the person he loved so much, was walking away from him. At that moment, the strange energy from the meteorite began to spread, reaching Angad's house. A loud, sudden blackout swept through the area, and everything went dark. A big twist happens when Teddy notices that Melanie has gone to take a bath. As soon as the lights come back on, Teddy is shocked to see another Melanie lying next to him, acting exactly the same way the real Melanie had just done 15 minutes earlier. Just then, the real Melanie comes out of the bathroom and sees her duplicate lying on the bed. Panic sets in, and Teddy, terrified, runs out of the room in a hurry. Meanwhile, David looks out the window and sees two Kyles outside, both drugged and fighting each other. One of them pulls out a gun and shoots the other Kyle before running off. David is completely shaken by what he's seen and runs back inside, trying to process the strange events unfolding around him. When he enters the house, he finds the party still going on, but everything seems wrong. The people inside the house are acting exactly like they did 15 minutes ago, as though the events were repeating. David remembers that he had seen some of these people leave the house just moments earlier, yet here they are, acting out the same actions all over again. Confused and frightened, David finds Teddy and Allison. The three of them realize that something very strange is happening. It turns out there are now two versions of everyone. One set of people's in the back of the house, and the other set is inside. The people at the back of the house are the originals, though some are unconscious from earlier events and didn't make it to the party. The people inside the house are copies, acting exactly like the originals did 15 minutes before, repeating everything the originals did. The cause of all this confusion seems to be the meteorite that crashed earlier, bringing people from another reality into this one. Only 4 people seem to know the truth: David, Teddy, Allison, and Melanie, who saw the copy of herself. Now outside, the chaos with Kyle has only made things worse. Everyone begins to realize that their duplicates might be dangerous. The copies are doing everything the originals did earlier, and it feels like they could kill their counterparts as soon as they spot them. When David arrived at the party, he was desperately searching for Jill, but at the same time, his duplicate was doing the exact same thing. David quickly had an idea. He realized that in order to protect himself, he needed to find his duplicate first. He tracked down the other David, knocked him unconscious, and locked him in a dark room to keep him out of the way. Once he dealt with his duplicate, David stepped back outside. Looking behind the house, he saw the original Jill having fun with her new boyfriend. David realized then that there was no point in chasing after her anymore, so he hurried back inside. Inside, he spotted the duplicate of Jill standing in the corner, just like she had been 15 minutes earlier. David walked up to her, just like he did before, and took her to a separate room. This time, he knew exactly what she was going to say. David began by telling Jill that he understood why she was upset. He admitted that he had been holding her back, not allowing her to move forward in life, and that he wanted to stay in the same town. But now he promised things would be different. He was ready to change and move forward with her, to leave the town and build a life together. Jill, surprised that David seemed to know exactly what was on her mind, listened carefully. Her anger began to fade as she realized he understood her feelings. She agreed to forgive him, and the two of them shared a heartfelt moment. As the two were about to kiss, a sudden blackout hit the house. The lights flickered, and when they came back on, Jill had disappeared. After the lights came back on, David realized that time had shifted again. Now the copies of everyone were 5 minutes ahead of the originals, instead of the previous 15-minute difference. It seemed like the universe was trying to correct itself, but the problem remained. There were still two versions of every person in the same reality. David stepped outside into the garden, hoping to find Jill. When he saw her, he approached her, but something felt off. He quickly realized that this was the real Jill, because she wasn't speaking to him the way she normally would. Instead of talking to him after their breakup, Jill was dancing with another boy. This sight left David feeling disappointed and heartbroken. Meanwhile, the copies of everyone were beginning to show up at the party, slowly catching up to their originals as the time difference started to close. People were starting to notice their doubles, versions of themselves that didn't belong in this reality. Just as the confusion grew, a sudden blackout hit again. David and Teddy immediately understood that this was their chance to tell everyone the truth. Teddy quickly made his way to the stage and grabbed the microphone. Stopping the music, he urgently told the crowd that in just a few minutes, their copies would return. He warned them that outside, Kyle's duplicate had already killed him, and the same would happen to everyone else. Their copies would attack them on sight. There couldn't be two versions of the same person in one reality. Teddy urged everyone to hide immediately because once the lights returned, their copies would appear near them again, and they wouldn't be safe. At first, most of the drunk people at the party didn't believe Teddy when he warned them about the duplicates. They thought it was just some wild story, but soon others began speaking up, saying they had also seen their own copies before the blackout. Realizing that Teddy might be telling the truth, the mood shifted. Everyone started listening, and they quickly agreed to hide in a nearby room to stay safe. The only person who didn't follow the others was Jill. She had already gone inside the house with her new boyfriend, not listening to the warning. As the lights flickered back on, the originals peeked through the windows and saw that Teddy had been right. Outside, their copies were having a party with the same DJ, repeating everything the originals had done earlier. This confirmed what Teddy had said, and the fear set in. They realized that if they wanted to escape, they would have to confront their duplicates and likely kill them. Some of the partygoers sneaked out of the room and started confronting their copies, struggling with the terrifying reality that they might have to kill their own selves to survive. Meanwhile, David had an idea. He also decided to leave the room and began searching for the duplicate of Jill. He knew that the original Jill had broken up with him, but after seeing the copy of Jill at the party earlier, he realized that things had been different with her. He didn't want the real Jill to stay in this reality, especially if her duplicate took her place. David searched the party, hoping to find the duplicate of Jill. As he looked around, his eyes finally landed on her. But then something caught his attention from the other side of the room. It was the original Jill, standing with her new boyfriend and sharing a kiss. The lights turn back on, and all the originals and their copies appear in the same room at the same time, with the timeline now corrected. As soon as they all come together, everyone begins to kill their own copy to survive. Meanwhile, David goes inside the house, grabs a knife, and kills the original Jill so her copy can stay in the new reality. On the other side of the room, everyone is fighting and killing each other. However, Allison meets her copy and feels comfortable talking with her, since Allison had always been alone and now has her own company. Eventually, everyone else in the room has killed each other, and the lights start flickering again. We then see Allison's copy enter this reality. On the other side, people emerge from the room, all covered in blood. Since everyone had arrived at the same time, no one could tell who the originals were and who were the copies. At the end of the movie, David notices Jill's copy outside, and they approach each other, sharing a kiss. However, this isn't her copy because David had already killed the original Jill, meaning the copy now stays in the reality. The movie ends here. If you didn't fully understand the plot, the key point is that the characters initially believed their copies would kill them in order to survive, based on Kyle's death. However, it turns out Kyle's copy accidentally killed him while drunk, not out of any survival instinct. This is mirrored later in the film when Allison and her copy don't fight, but instead have a calm conversation. When the timelines merge, one version of Allison goes back to her original reality, while the other stays behind. The originals and copies are left in a new reality, but it's unclear how many of the survivors are the originals and how many are copies. Despite the confusion, the difference between the two realities doesn't really matter in the end, as the copies of the people who died remain in this new universe. Meanwhile, in the alternate reality, the originals are now missing from their original places. In the end, David kills the original Jill for his own selfish reasons, allowing her copy to remain in this reality. The movie leaves us with this ambiguity as the characters struggle to understand what happened, and the reality they are left in is ultimately shaped by their actions. How did you like the video? If you enjoyed it, be sure to check out more videos in this playlist. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.